Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at something that might make you rethink a few things about ambition and strength, especially for women.
Okay.
We're diving into this really powerful quote from Madonna, where she says, I'm tough, I'm ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. If that makes me a bitch, okay.
Ooh, she doesn't hold back, does she?
No, she does not. What's your take on that? Like, what hits you first about this statement?
Honestly, I think what strikes me most is just the unapologetic way she owns those qualities. Like, she's not shying away from being seen as tough or ambitious.
Right.
She's almost daring you to challenge her on it.
It's like she's reclaiming those words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so powerful, especially for women.
Yeah. So let's break this down a little bit. This quote really seems to highlight this double standard that we often see, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a man who's tough and ambitious is often admired, seen as a leader.
Right. He's driven. He's a go-getter.
Exactly. But a woman with those same traits,
He is labeled
she's aggressive, she's difficult.
bossy.
Bossy, yeah. And then there's that word bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a loaded word, right?
Oh, incredibly so.
Historically, it's been used to put women down, to silence them, to kind of keep them in their place.
Absolutely. It's been used to punish women for being assertive, for speaking their minds, for basically not conforming to these narrow expectations of how they're supposed to behave.
But Madonna, she just flips the script
She does.
by owning that word, by saying, okay, if that's what you call me, fine. She's taking away its power.
It's almost like she's daring you to use it against her because she's already redefined it on her own terms.
It's like she's saying, this word doesn't scare me. It doesn't define me. I define myself.
Exactly. And that's a really powerful message, especially for women who have been made to feel ashamed or afraid of their own ambition.
I mean, it makes you think, right? Do you think by reclaiming words like this, we kind of, I don't know, maybe play into the hands of those who use them to hurt us?
That's a really interesting question, and I think it's one that a lot of people struggle with. On one hand, you could argue that by embracing these labels, we're giving them legitimacy.
Right.
We're letting the people who use them against us win.
But on the other hand,
There's something really powerful about reclaiming language, about taking these words that have been used to hurt us and turning them into something that empowers us.
so what are your thoughts, listeners? How do you feel about this idea of reclaiming words?
Does it take away their sting, or does it perpetuate the problem?
Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective.
You know, I think it's also important to remember the context. Like Madonna, she's built a whole career on pushing boundaries, challenging norms.
Right.
So for her, this kind of statement is almost expected. It fits into her persona.
Yeah, you're right. It's like part of her brand even.
Exactly. But for someone else, it might not land the same way. It might be perceived as too aggressive or confrontational.
So it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. It's about finding what works for you, what feels authentic to your own voice and style.
Okay, so let's flip this around for a second.
Sure.
What happens when we don't embrace these qualities? You know, the toughness, the ambition.
Oh, that's a great question. I think when we shy away from those traits, especially as women, we risk being overlooked, underestimated.
We kind of become invisible in a way.
Yeah, exactly. We blend into the background.
And that's not what we want. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to make a difference.
Absolutely. And I think Madonna's quote is a reminder that we have to be willing to fight for those things.
To step up and claim our space.
Exactly. And that might mean being a little bit moochy sometimes.
But in a good way, right?
It's in a way that empowers us, in a way that helps us achieve our goals.
So it's not about being mean or nasty.
No, not at all.
It's about being assertive, knowing what you want, and not being afraid to go after it.
And I think it's also about being strategic.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, I think there are times when it's important to pick your battles.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You don't have to be britchy all the time.
Right.
You can be tough, you can be ambitious, but you can also be diplomatic, you can be collaborative.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. It's about knowing when to stand your ground and when to compromise.
And knowing when to just let things go.
Exactly. You can't win every battle.
So, listeners, think about your own lives, your own experiences. Have you ever felt like you had to downplay your ambition or your strength in order to be accepted.
Have you ever been called bitchy for just being assertive or going after what you want?
Share your stories in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. You know, it's interesting because this whole idea of toughness and ambition, it can be kind of tricky to navigate, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially for women, there's this constant pressure to be likable, to be agreeable.
Yeah. You don't want to come across as too aggressive.
Exactly. But then you also don't want to be a pushover.
So how do you find that balance?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to confidence.
Okay, so tell me more about that. How do we build that confidence, especially if we've been conditioned to kind of shrink back or play small?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing your own worth. Like really believing that your voice matters, that your ideas deserve to be heard.
Yeah, and that your ambitions are valid no matter what anyone else says.
Exactly. And once you have that internal belief, it starts to show up in everything you do.
So you carry yourself differently, you speak up more, you take more risks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about being arrogant or cocky.
Right.
It's about owning your power, knowing that you have something valuable to offer.
And I think that's something that could be really intimidating to some people, right? Like putting yourself out there, risking rejection.
Oh, absolutely. It's scary.
But it's also necessary.
If you want to achieve your goals, if you want to make a difference in the world, you have to be willing to take those risks.
And I think Madonna's quote is a great reminder of that. Like, she's not afraid to be seen. She's not afraid to be judged.
She's out there doing her thing, and she doesn't care what anyone else thinks.
And that's a really inspiring message.
It is.
So, listeners, what are your thoughts on this? Have you ever felt that tension between wanting to be liked and wanting to be successful?
How do you navigate those expectations?
Let us know in the comments. We always love to hear your perspectives. And that's it for this deep dive. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We rise from the shadows and dance in the light, unlocking our power, igniting the night. In this deep dive we find strength in our voice, every woman a leader with dreams and a choice. Stand tall and proud, we're breaking the mold with hearts full of fire. Our stories get told. Together we soar on wings wide and free. The deep dive calls to you. Come join and you'll see. With passion we conquer each mountain we climb, an unstoppable force in rhythm and rhyme. In this podcast we shine like stars on the rise, uniting our spirits, breaking the ties. Stand tall and proud, we're breaking the mold with hearts full of fire. Our stories get told. Together we soar on wings wide and free. The deep dive calls to you. Come join and we'll see. We conquer each mountain we climb, an unstoppable force in rhythm and rhyme. In this podcast we shine like stars on the rise, uniting our spirits, breaking the ties. Stand tall and proud, we're breaking the mold with hearts full of fire. Our stories get told. Together we soar on wings wide and free. The deep dive calls to you. Come join and you'll see.